All right. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for making the time to come out here today. The reason I called this gathering together was, two reasons. One is because, as you know, I'm running for House of Representatives, and I wanted to be able to present my commitments to improving transparency in the legislature and also for reforming the legislature, so that this would include long-term as well as short-term goals. The other reason, though, is larger than that, and that is to share a proposal for improving governance in the CNMI, regardless of the 2007 election results. Now, for me, good governance means open and honest government, empowered citizens, a free and vigilant press, and a healthy and diversified community that is sustainably intertwined with the economy. So if those are the goals, we can look at the results of poor governance. I truly believe that our declining economy, our deteriorating environment, our social environment, certainly, and our failing public services are the result of years of misgovernance. And it's so profoundly ingrained in our islands that some of us have difficulty imagining any other way. But we have to imagine another way. If we're ever to bring ourselves out of the present crisis, if we're ever to survive this present crisis, and we realize that long-term vision that we have for ourselves and our community. So, if we're guided by a clear vision for where we want to be in the future, then the path for getting there opens up. For me, change isn't just a goal, it's also a process. And I don't see any reason to delay beginning that process now and letting everything that we do in the short term be part of the process for realizing those goals that we've set for ourselves in the long term. So, if I were elected, here are the plans that I would have for, one, increasing transparency in the legislature within 100 days of assuming office. The first thing to do that I would do is to hold the first of what would be a series of quarterly State of the Legislature forums to provide the public with information and insights that are gained through working within the legislature. So this would include updates on bills that have been introduced. It would include my positions on issues of the day, reflections on discussions that took place in committee meetings and in sessions. And there will also be opportunities for feedback, for comments and questions from the public. Secondly, until the Open Government Act fully applies to the legislature, I would be issuing public notices and meeting agendas for all committee meetings and sessions. I'm aware that because the Open Government Act doesn't apply to the legislature at this time, sessions are frequently scheduled at the last minute and rescheduled, and meeting agendas are subject to change. So I will provide the most recent information, the most updated information that I have about meetings and agendas, and also include information about how many times the meetings were rescheduled or how many times the agendas changed. I think the public deserves to know that. And the third commitment to improving transparency in the legislature would be to hold press conferences at least once a week when the legislature is in session. And all members of the legislature will be invited to attend these press conferences. I also have some 2-year goals for reforming the legislature. One is to strengthen the Open Government Act and fully apply it to the legislature. Another is to improve the official website so that it's more informative. This should include at a minimum all the bills that have been introduced and the public laws that have been enacted. It should include contact information for all the legislators, budgets for the legislators and the Legislative Bureau. It should include voting records for all of our representatives and senators. And then, of course, the journals, committee reports, and meeting notices and agendas. And third, I'd like to see 6 initiatives to amend the Constitution to reform the legislature to be introduced within 2 years. These include reducing the number of representatives in the House from 20 to 14, reducing the size of the Senate from 9 to 6, require the smallest possible House of Representatives from reapportionment plans, cut the maximum budgets that would be allowed per representative and senator by at least 50%, require that no law can be enacted that requires an expenditure of public funds without also being accompanied by an appropriation of funds, and create a part-time legislature. The initiatives that I mentioned that pertains to the number of representatives, to the size of the House, would be especially important to get on the ballots by 2009 because the next census is in 2010 and then a new plan for reapportionment is due. All 6 initiatives will be introduced as legislative initiatives, and signatures will be simultaneously gathered from the public to build public awareness and support, and also to prepare for the possibility of launching these initiatives as popular initiatives if they stall in committee. Other 2-year goals that I will focus on include pushing for follow-through on some of the efforts that have already been initiated to conduct a desk audit of the entire CNMI government, an investigation of the Commonwealth's tax collection, finance, and procurement policies and procedures, and oversight hearings on CEC. I would also prioritize the basic needs of the community in reviewing proposed budgets and developing appropriation and revenue bills. Basic needs would include infrastructure, healthcare, public education, public safety, environmental quality, and economic opportunity. And I would call on all my colleagues in the legislature and in the executive branch, in all the branches of government, really, to do the same, to prioritize the basic needs of our community. And then also call on the citizens to participate in the process of identifying proper responses to those needs. Now, to go back to what I said earlier about the larger purpose of this gathering. Regardless of the 2007 election results, my commitment to improving governance in our community remains the same. I will continue to push for all the reform measures that I mentioned above, as well as for long-term goals to improve governance in the Commonwealth. These long-term goals include recruiting new and honest candidates for 2009, formulating a plan to reorganize the Commonwealth government using information received from desk audits, from public hearings and other public forums, and also launching a new political organization that will continue to push for better governance and a healthier and more sustainable course of development for the CNMI. Better governance begins with citizens. It begins with citizens making an effort to get educated about the issues, to speak honestly and freely about their ideas, and also to appeal to their government for greater transparency and accountability. It also begins with our leaders. We need leaders who appreciate the importance of transparency and accountability, and leaders who put the interests of the Commonwealth first above everything else. And it also begins with the media. We need a free and vigilant media to ask questions of all our leaders, to probe relentlessly if the questions aren't answered, and to disseminate information to the public so that citizens can be educated and empowered. I really believe that if we determinedly take on the problem of misgovernance that has been plaguing our islands for all these years, that things will get better. They'll get better slowly, perhaps, but they will eventually get better. Over time, public services and infrastructure will improve, businesses will begin to thrive, investors will develop greater confidence in the CNMI, our local government, we as a people will develop better relations with the federal government, more credibility. Things will get better. We'll see new leaders and inspired citizens continuing to push the Commonwealth forward. And maybe all of our people who have left the islands will look at all the changes taking place here and realize that they have a stronger and more livable home to come back to. I think that if we are all committed to this effort, to improving governance in the CNMI, not just for the short term, but for the long haul, that we'll begin to realize the fruits of our labor, and we'll see that not only in an improved quality of life for all our people, but also in the vision and the spirit of citizenship that we pass on to our children.